Have you ever taught someone a new language only to have it backfire horribly? 3 years ago, my coworker Amy asked me to teach her Spanish. She was dating this guy Luis, whose family only spoke Spanish, and she wanted to impress them at his cousin's wedding in 2 months. Amy was super motivated at first. We'd spend our lunch breaks going over basic phrases, pronunciation, and common expressions. She had this little notebook where she'd write everything down phonetically. I taught her simple stuff like mucho gusto for nice to meet you, como está for how are you, and la comida está deliciosa for the food is delicious. Basic polite conversation that would work at any family gathering. Amy was actually picking it up pretty fast. She'd practice with me every day, asking me to quiz her on different phrases. I was really proud of how hard she was working. But here's where things started going wrong. Amy got overconfident and started watching Spanish soap operas to immerse herself in the language. Problem is, she was picking up random phrases without understanding the context or knowing when they were appropriate to use. She'd come to work using these dramatic expressions she heard on TV, thinking they were just normal ways to say things. I tried to explain that telenovelas are basically the Spanish version of reality TV drama, but she insisted she was learning real Spanish. 2 weeks before the wedding, Amy was feeling pretty good about her Spanish skills. She'd memorized probably 50 different phrases and could have basic conversations with me during our breaks. I warned her to stick to the simple, polite phrases I taught her first, especially with Luis's grandparents, who were more traditional, but Amy said she wanted to show them she'd really made an effort to learn their language. The wedding day arrives, and Amy texts me updates throughout the event. At first, everything seemed fine. She used the basic greetings I taught her, complimented the food, and even managed to have a short conversation with Luis's mom about the beautiful church. Then came the reception dinner. This is where everything went completely sideways. Amy decided she wanted to give a little speech to thank Luis's family for welcoming her. Sweet idea, right? Except she didn't run this speech by me first. She stands up in front of about 60 people, taps her glass, and starts speaking in Spanish. According to Luis, who called me the next day, here's what actually came out of her mouth. Instead of saying, "I'm so grateful to be part of your family," she said, "I'm so grateful to be pregnant with your family." She mixed up parte and embarazada because she heard it on one of her soap operas. But it gets worse. She wanted to say Luis makes me very happy, but instead said Luis makes me very pregnant because she confused feliz with fertil. Then trying to compliment the grandmother's cooking, she meant to say, "Your grandmother cooks like an angel," but what she actually said was, "Your grandmother cooks like she's dead," because she used muerta instead of divina. The whole room went completely silent. Luis's grandmother looked like she was about to cry. His dad's face turned bright red. Even the little kids stopped playing and stared at Amy, but Amy had no idea anything was wrong. She thought the stunned silence meant they were moved by her heartfelt speech, so she kept going. She wanted to end by saying, "I promise to love Luis forever," but instead announced, "I promise to love Luis's brother forever," because she got confused about masculine and feminine pronouns. At this point, Luis's actual brother's girlfriend started crying, thinking Amy was confessing to having an affair. Luis's parents were whispering frantically to each other, trying to figure out if Amy was announcing a pregnancy or just completely insane. Finally, Luis's uncle, who spoke English, stepped in and quietly explained to Amy that she might want to sit down. That's when Amy realized something had gone horribly wrong. Luis spent the rest of the reception doing damage control, explaining to everyone that Amy was still learning Spanish and had mixed up some words. But the damage was done. Luis's grandmother spent the rest of the night avoiding Amy, convinced she'd been insulted. His brother and his girlfriend had a huge fight in the parking lot, and Luis's parents kept asking if they needed to start planning for a grandchild. The worst part was that Amy had been so proud of herself for memorizing this whole speech. She'd practiced it in the mirror for weeks, thinking she was going to surprise everyone with her language skills. Luis called me on Monday, half laughing and half stressed out. His family was still confused about whether Amy was pregnant, in love with his brother, or just had something against his grandmother's cooking. It took 3 more family dinners and a lot of very careful English explanations before everyone understood it was just a translation disaster. Amy was mortified when I explained what she'd actually said. She made me promise to stick to the basics if she ever asked for language lessons again. Now, whenever someone asks me to teach them Spanish, I make them swear they won't try to give speeches at family events without running it by me first.